how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you are experiencing the energy of burnout in your career, let's say, you are also experiencing that energy in your role as a mother, if you have children, in your role as a wife, if you're married, in your role as a friend for your platonic relationships, in your role as a girlfriend, if you are in a romantic relationship, in your resources, you are also experiencing the energy with your community. That energy is going to be in those core areas of your life, whether you know it or not. And when you go through a period of time where you experience a recovery in one area of your life, like I did with my business, the next thing that's going to happen intuitively, this is going to happen, you're going to start to see those patterns of burnout in other areas of your life, especially the areas of your life that matter to you the most. Hola, mis amores. How is your spirit today? How are you feeling? Let me know in the comments below. Welcome to today's mini episode of my Healing from Burnout series I've been doing. This is the last episode, and this is episode number 4. We are going to be talking about life after burnout recovery. After you've gone through this journey and you are in a position where you've implemented the tools I share with you in episode 1, 2, and 3, what's next for you? How do you continue to show up to your life with this renewed perspective? What does it take to hold this new renewed perspective and sustain it so that you are showing up powerfully in all areas of your life and you are aware of the energy of burnout with compassion and with grace, no matter what's going on? That's what we're going to cover today. If we're meeting for the first time, hola, my name is Yenory Pouncil. Welcome to the Yenory Pouncil podcast, where every episode is a love letter to my future self and to the women of the African diaspora that are healing with joy, that are committed to being the best version of themselves with authenticity, with a heart of joy and compassion for themselves and for others. I've dedicated myself to this work for the past 14 years because I believe in the power of trusting our intuition. I believe in the power of surrendering to that voice that lives inside of all of us, that God has placed within us, that our Creator has placed within us. And I have seen my life transform by listening to that voice, trusting this voice, and acting on its guidance. And I desire the same for those of you that are ready, those of you that are available to what I'm going to share with you today. Because I know that the person that watches this video, that's open to this information, that's open to these lessons I'm going to be sharing with you, is going to get the most out of this conversation and going to apply it. And when you apply it, your life transforms. You see the transformation for yourself and you apply more of it and you ignite this chain reaction of unconditional love for yourself and for others. And man, what a world that is when we can see others the way that God sees them and we can see ourselves the way that God sees us. It's the type of thing you got to feel on your own and you got to experience on your own. So this is episode 4 of my series, my mini series on healing from burnout. In the last episode, I talked to you about the cure for burnout, what I see as the cure for burnout. And I recommend checking that episode out because I went deeply into how you can address it and how you can address it, whether you've experienced burnout in 5 days, after 5 days, after 5 months, 5 years. It just helps you understand the way to look at yourself differently and look at burnout differently so you can show up to it powerfully. In today's episode, let's talk about integration. I've been on the path of self-mastery for 14 years, as I shared with you. And I've learned that there are 4 stages to this journey of self-mastery with anything in my life. I start with a stage of discovery where I am getting clear on what I have going on, what am I experiencing. Then I go into a stage of shedding where I'm letting things go that no longer serve me based on what I've learned about myself. Then I go through this embodying stage where I'm putting into place the lessons that I'm learning, the things that I decided to put in my life and to apply. And then I arrive at this place of integration where I am taking something that I've learned in one area of my life and I apply it to all areas of my life across the board, focusing on the areas of my life that matter to me the most. And that's where we are right now. We are going to talk about the integration of you into your life post burnout recovery. What is the life after? After I realized that I had experienced quite a bit of burnout in 2022, I took all of 2023 to pay close attention to my life and to release everything so that I can put things back on the table of my attention with intention. And that process, a very uncomfortable process, by the way, very healing and liberating process. I was sitting with this idea that we talk about wanting freedom a lot, and we don't realize that freedom can be very uncomfortable because freedom requires letting go, freedom requires surrendering, freedom requires clearing the table. And most of us are so attached to what's on the table that we don't want to let go. We don't really want to do the uncomfortable part of freedom. So if you desire freedom, be mindful that freedom is an uncomfortable thing to experience and to get to a certain degree. So when I looked at my life and I began to put things back onto the table with my attention, the things that I wanted to amplify, I noticed that there was a way to look at myself differently now going through this process of burnout. In the this journey I was in 2023 was different than the previous experiences I've had with burnout, because this time around I was focused on compassion and grace, like I talked to you in episode 3. And I was also focused on enjoying the process. I was focused on enjoying the process of being in the experience of burnout or learning from that experience and recovering from that experience. And as you recover from burnout or recover from going through that journey, it's really important that you're holding space. That you're holding space, because when you're holding space, you can see yourself clearly and you can learn about yourself. Truly, in any video of mine that you watch, it's my greatest desire that you're going to walk away with a knowing of who you are at a deeper level, and that you're going to learn about yourself at a deeper level. Because when you learn about yourself, you can transform your life. And when you transform your life, people around you are also transformed. So after you go through this period of showing up powerfully and interrupting the pattern of burnout and doing it real time with compassion and with grace, like we talked about in episode 2 and 3, what's next? What's next for you? That's the question that I was asking myself in 2023. What's next for me? What's next for myself now? And what I really was sitting with was, how do I want to show up now in my life with this new knowledge, this new insight in myself in a way that supports me and that brings together everything I've learned over the last 14 years about self love and unconditional love in general. And what I've been really focused on is being present, being present at a level that a past version of myself couldn't even fathom was possible. Being present at a level where I am so available to my emotions. I am so available to the way I show up to those emotions. I am so willing to look at Yenory in a way that's grounded in love, that I can go to the darker parts of myself and bring the light of love to those parts of myself. And when you experience the energy of burnout and you recover from it in one area of your life, you're going to notice that this energy wasn't just constricted to one area of your life, because that's not how energy works. I learned this many years ago, and I wish I remember where I learned it from. How you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you are experiencing the energy of burnout in your career, let's say, You are also experiencing that energy in your role as a mother, if you have children, in your role as a wife, if you're married, in your role as a friend for your platonic relationships, in your role as a girlfriend, if you are in a romantic relationship, in your resources. You are also experiencing the energy with your community. That energy is going to be in those core areas of your life, whether you know it or not. And when you go through a period of time where you experience a recovery in one area of your life, like I did with my business, the next thing that's going to happen intuitively, this is going to happen, you're going to start to see those patterns of burnout in other areas of your life, especially the areas of your life that matter to you the most. You're going to see how that energy that you were experiencing in one area of your life, for me, which was my career, was impacting the other areas of your life because you've addressed this. So now you can see the ripple effect. When we experience burnout, there is a ripple effect from the burnout that kind of carries through even after you have completed your recovery process, which can be long or short, depending on you, depending on how you show up to that energy. So, what I began to notice was, what was the ripple effect of the burnout in these areas of my life? How did it impact it? Because I am one being, right? Multidimensional being, one being though. So I am carrying that energy, I'm amplifying that energy, and anything I'm creating, when I am creating from the energy of burnout, I am creating it in those areas of my life as well, because it's the same energy. So what started to happen and what you'll experience is that you start to see the ripple effect of your actions, and you start to notice the places and the pockets of your life where that energy of burnout had the biggest impact. And this can be very uncomfortable. This journey is extremely uncomfortable because you start to see yourself from this new lens, and the energy of judgment will get louder. We talked about this on episode number 3, and I even share with you the best way to journey that, at least what has served me. And you'll notice that it's going to require you to show up differently. It's going to require you to make a decision on what you desire to amplify and what you desire to contract. There are going to be parts of you that are going to be very tempting to amplify that no longer serve you, because it's what you've learned, is how you have felt safe showing up in the world. To me, that has to look like shrinking. Shrinking and shutting down is been my go-to, y'all. I tend to, if I'm in a situation that I feel very uncomfortable, like my default reaction is to shrink. Shrink and shut down. I block it off like it's not happening, it's not existing. And when you go through the journey of burnout recovery in the way that I've described it to you in the previous 3 videos, you'll see that that doesn't work for you anymore. You'll see that by looking at burnout as a redirection, by identifying that the cause of it is your ability to acknowledge how you feel instead of avoiding how you're feeling, and by choosing to bring the energy of compassion and grace, you'll notice that you develop the courage, like you'll strengthen your courage to be able to expand when you desire to shrink out of fear. So as you begin to look at these different parts of yourself, and you're looking at your life, and you see, well, how did me focusing all my energy on work impact my marriage? How did me focusing all my energy on work impact my role as a mom? How did me using all my energy for work impact my relationships, impact my money? When you look at those things now, you'll be willing to do the uncomfortable thing, and you'll start to see that you can do those things, that you can choose to put those other parts of your life in a place where you can pause from work, if that's the area, the example I'm using, because that's what was my example, and you can spend that time with your family. You can have dinner with your family every night. You can have lunch with your family every night, every day. You can pick a day in the week to go with your kid to the museum. You can take a day where you're simply going outside of your house and being in nature. These are the things that I started to do after I went through that period of burnout recovery. I began to integrate that learning into my day to day by choosing, with a lot of intention, choosing to enjoy my life. And in order for you to enjoy your life, it's going to require that you are willing to do the uncomfortable part, which is leaving behind those old ways of thinking, allowing that old version of yourself to return to where she came from with gratitude, right? We give her gratitude, we give her grace for everything we have learned, and we allow her to rest. We allow those patterns of overthinking and perfectionism to rest. And we begin to let this new version of ourselves, which has already been inside of us. This is why it's not about becoming, it's about being. Because you are already that woman. You're already the woman that shows up with this energy. And what you are doing in those moments is you're letting that version of you expand. The version of you that puts yourself first, you let her expand. The version of you that is compassionate, you let her expand and bring the light of love into your shadow. The version of you that loves spending time with your children, you let her expand by spending time with your children and sitting in the energy of that. And the key to all of this is going to be present. Being present in the discomfort, being present in the joy, being present in the learning, being present in the growing, and allowing yourself to be present in such a way that you can fall in love with the process. And this is going to feel uncomfortable. It feels it feels so uncomfortable in the beginning. Oh, because it's just not the way you have learned to do it. You have learned to do the opposite of that. You have learned to go to your safety net, right? So in those moments, it's going to really call you to be your safety net, to trust that inner voice. You see why trusting your intuition is so important? Because in those moments, you're going to be called to trust your inner voice, to trust that you've done enough, to trust that you are enough, to trust that your value has nothing to do with how much money you make, to trust that your life you desire is available to you right now. And you can choose to have it right now. To trust that your vision for yourself and for the world is possible. And that is going to call for you to let go of some all things. It's going to call you to allow yourself to surrender these things to something higher than yourself, to surrender it to God, to source energy, whatever you want to call it. And this is the key to integration, is to be present in the moment so you can surrender the old version of yourself and return her to where she came from, let her rest, so that you may allow this new version of you that has always been living inside of you to be your new default, to be your guide, to be the version of you that makes the decisions in your life. And when you do that, anytime you experience burnout, it's no longer a source of frustration. If anything, it's a source of celebration, because now you can see it, you can spot it, you can learn from it, and you know exactly what to do to redirect. And that's been my path with this. That's been my journey with this. That's how I approach it. That's how I've lived with it. And it has been really healing for me, because what he's teaching me underneath all of that is that I can be kind to myself, is that my feelings do matter, is that I am worthy of myself. I am worthy of my time. I am worthy of my energy. Is that I am worthy of my own discomfort. And that in the moments that that feels hard, I'm growing. I'm growing in my faith. I'm growing in my trust. I am growing in my light. and I'm being expanded into a new season. I'm being ascended into a new level. And it's a source of joy and celebration. And that knowing alone is going to transform how you see yourself. It's going to shift how you see everything. Because you know what's going on, and you won't feel like you're being punished. No, you're going to see that you are being ascended. And that ascension requires that you let go of the old to emerge the new. And the best part about it is that it doesn't exist out there. It was always in here. And that's what I desire for you to take away from this series. That's what I desire for you to implement into your life. That knowing that it's always inside of you. You don't have to go out there to get it. The voice of God is within you. God, you are made in the image, likeness, and image of God. So it's already inside of you. You already have it. You can recognize it in others because you already know it. And the moment you let that inner voice guide you and lead you, boom, it shows up. And that's what I am doing over at the Self-Trust Society. Those are the conversations that I'm having with women in that space. Those are the transformations we are curating and we are holding space for to emerge, because I see it in myself and I see it in them. And if you are one of those women, there is a link probably below this video where you can join the Self-Trust Society and you can be a part of these conversations, and you can experience it for you so that you too can see what it's like to be on the other side. Thank you for joining me for this mini series. I appreciate you. I love you dearly. I will see you in the next episode. What are we going to talk about in the next episode? I don't know. I don't know yet. I haven't decided. When I do and I drop it, you'll see it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you find this to be helpful, and share this video with somebody that you love. Pour into their spirit. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Hasta luego.